Good evening. Welcome to the 12-man podcast for what's looking like the penultimate time for the season. Got me, Steve Jackson. I'm your host for the evening. Got Mr. John Donovan with us. Evening, John Don.
No, then you okay?
Yeah, not too bad. How's the knee?
All right. Yeah, as
Good.
you were aware, I got to Saturday's game.
You did.
Survived it. But that was mainly because it wasn't tested, was it?
No.
It wasn't tested really. So yeah.
Exactly. We
All
got
good, thank
him
you.
there. We got him there. I was very happy to see him popping up the stairs. So yes, with his man-made drum. But we'll talk a little bit about that because there's nothing much to talk about the game like. So, Mr. John,
I hope you realise that wasn't me, by the way, Steve.
I'm saying nothing. Got Mr. John Cutler with us, even cut.
Evening.
Doing you all right?
Yeah, the sun's been out. Yeah, what more can you want?
Well, we've got 60 minutes to discuss that, so I'll come back to that. And we've got Mr. Jacob Jervis. Evening, Jacob.
You all right?
I am. Are you?
Yeah, passed that theory test buzzing.
Good
well done.
Well done.
There you go. One more step to avoiding the roads, people. So there you go. Firstly, though, commiserations for yesterday. I saw about your cup final.
Cheers,
wasn't meant to be against Winnie Banks.
No, tough match. They're a good team.
Who's it down to, the manager or the team?
Me.
There's mistake number one.
That's a bit harsh, Steve. That's a bit harsh, Steve.
I'll take the blame always.
There you go. What a man. So there you go. So we're going to talk about Norwich, kind of. Talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the reaction after the game. How people reacted to the. I don't know if it was it a lap of honour? I mean, because
appreciation.
What was it? I noticed Bergsaw just stood on the sideline for most of it. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about fans' reaction to Carrick as well. We got a lot of flack near us, particularly. So, rightfully, wrongfully, you be the judge of that. And then we'll talk about the final day of the season, where we have been selected for the main game. So there you go. That got released a couple of hours ago. But before we start, firstly, are we all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as good as can be.
Well, you all sound it. Firstly, it is Borough late, but not the men's team. Huge congratulations to the women who actually got the job done on the final day. Went to Barnsley yesterday, won 3-0, so they've been promoted to I think it's the Women's Northern Premier. So I think they're only a couple of divisions behind the big guns. So, yeah, massive congratulations to the team. So there you go. That's the good news. Right, let's get stuck into the men's team now. Yeah, massive.
Well done. Won it on goal difference. So
they did.
That 7-0 victory at the Riverside a couple of weeks ago made a hell of a difference.
Exactly. So massive well done to the ladies team. I know they put a lot of hard work into it. Obviously, the club's put a little bit more money into it as well. So, yeah, they've got the rewards on that side of things. Right, let's talk about this. Let's talk about Norwich. I'm not going to talk massively about the game, John Don, because there wasn't much to talk about. The only thing I will talk about was the amount of frustration. You could tell the frustration was building as the game went on. Rightfully so. I'm not saying wrongfully. But the thing that mostly frustrated me was we looked too dead set on trying to stick with what we had than twisting and actually having a good goal until about the 75th, maybe 80th minute. Agree?
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a strange atmosphere, wasn't it, going to the game? We'd had the disappointment at Sheffield Wednesday. A lot of people went to the game to watch the earlier kickoff, which obviously meant a lot to our fate. And as I was sort of walking from the car park to the ground, I heard a huge roar. It turned out to be the loudest roar of the day. and I checked my phone because I knew it was something that was either a goal or a penalty for Luton. And sure enough, Luton had took the lead late on. And it lifted my spirits immediately. It obviously lifted the spirits of everybody who was watching it in the concourses. And I thought to myself, right, come on. You know, we've had this season and in the last couple of months, chance after chance handed to us. Yeah, I thought to myself, surely we cannot throw another chance away. You know, you go back and Watford at home, Swansea away, Sheffield Wednesday away. You might remind me of some more, but
Sheffield Wednesday at home.
Yeah. I was thinking like sort of post January, but yes, yeah. You know, I mean, as the end of the season approached, we were given chances to get ourselves into the top six or remain in the top six, and every time we've spurned the chance, and we were given another one with Coventry's defeat on Saturday. So I was really hopeful that just for once this season, you know, take your chance and get us into the top six, and you know, give us some hope for the final league game of the season. That's how I went to it, you know. And anyway, we're going to talk about the match, so I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, well, that's how I felt. I tweeted out on Saturday morning, you lads saying, just give us something to go into Coventry. That's all we wanted. You know, we've done our bit. We sold all the tickets. We got all the people we could there, and just take it into the final day. I mean, fair enough. People go, well, we have. Well, yeah, we have. You're right, but keep it in our hands. That's all I asked. And they say I parked up and I was trying to get myself into the stadium, and I said, Jade with me, and she was like, "No, we'll watch the last 20 minutes in here, then we'll go in." And then seeing Luton score, I was like, "No, right, I'm in. I'm going in." Like, I was ready. I was up for it. It was exciting. I imagine you probably felt the same, Clutch. Obviously, being towards the ground, you know, that goal, hearing the cheer, hearing the enthusiasm around the ground, we all felt, right, this is it. There's no second chances. This is it now, and that's how the players should have felt.
Yeah, I was watching it downstairs in the concourse, had a pint, chatting away at the lads, and the goal went in, and you just thought, here we go, lads. You've been given yet another chance. Put yourself in a great position. And like you say, we'll talk about the match later. I'd like to say I was surprised at the performance, but I wasn't. So, yeah, we'll discuss that in a bit.
Yeah. I mean, to talk about the lineup that came out, Jacob, obviously, you know, Ian Joe brought back in. But apart from that, there wasn't massively huge shocks. But I mean, I'll talk about what I think of the team in a minute. What did you think of the team?
It isn't the team I'd have played, but I don't think you can. There isn't necessarily a massive case for any certain individual that they have to be starting at the minute, because I feel like they've all been quite poor, and I don't think the team's playing brilliantly. So and again, I feel like momentum's gone in any kind of player's performance, because a lot of them are getting played out of position as well across that three behind the one, the striker. So, you know, lucky Iheanacho hasn't done great, but I didn't necessarily look at him in the team and think, well, Fours had to be in, or someone else had to be in. I didn't, because I wouldn't have played Whittaker, because I know I had my rant about him the other week about Whittaker, but I thought he was very, very poor. So my team probably would have been Azaz in the 10, Bergzog on the left, and probably Fours on the right, and Conway up front. But I was happy that Dale Fry was brought back in. So no, I wasn't massively like kicking up a fuss about it, no.
What do you think, Clutch, about Dale Fry coming back in?
To be fair, I thought he had an half-decent game. You know my thoughts on Dale. Would I have me next season? 100% not. But fair play to him. I thought he had an half-decent game on Saturday. regarding the team, I think we've got plenty of forwards that have flattered to deceive. So the only thing I would have done, maybe different to that, I would have put them all into a bag, apart from Iheanacho, and picked out the front three. How he's getting in that team instead of as the 10, I will never know. Stubbornness is going to cost him dearly if we don't make the playoffs. And for me, that was a stubborn decision because he's shown absolutely nothing in the whole time he's been here. And now we've got one game left. It was a must-win game. No matter what he says about games aren't must-win, yes, they are. And he's playing a player that's done absolutely nothing while he's been here. I don't care what we're paying him or what people say, how good he's in the dressing room. On performances, how is he in that 11? If one of you can explain that to me, I'm all ears because I've seen nothing, absolutely nothing.
The thing is that there isn't a great deal to choose from, is there? You look at the bench. You look at the bench. No, I'm not defending Iheanacho here. But what I'm saying is, none of the players who were left out could feel unjust about that because none of them have really had a decent spell lately. I agree that there were people on the bench who would have given us more than Iheanacho, but it wasn't standouts. Like you say that, like the bench just it didn't inspire. It didn't inspire me, purely and simply because they've all been tried, given opportunities recently, and every one of them is flattered to deceive.
It's more annoying. I mean, I'm just bringing his name up now. I've had his name in my head for weeks, but I bring it now because Jason's just mentioned about him. Josh Colburn. Josh Colburn was let go on loan. We could have had Colburn back in January. We could have had the conversation with Millwall to bring him back. And people will go, why would you bring him back in January? He's a goal scorer. The boy is a goal scorer. He's proved that with Millwall as well. He's scored some big goals for Millwall. He's been part of some massive vital plays for them as well. I'm not saying he's the man that's going to score all the goals that's going to get us into the top 6 or top 2, whatever it may be. But what else have we got? We've got nothing. We've got absolutely nothing. We're paying a lad 75 grand. Well, a portion of 75 grand a week because he's a good laugh in the dressing room. He's got a smile on his face. Behave.
I think Colburn. I think Colburn would have offered us more than Iheanacho's given us. That's hindsight. Carrick thought otherwise in January. Carrick thought Iheanacho could be the answer. It just hasn't turned out. And looking back now, Colburn would have easily contributed far more than Iheanacho.
Yeah.
It's been awful for Iheanacho here.
It's just
maybe the management team think that it's a better option to shot a centre half as centre forward instead of having Colburn here. Well, if that's the case, Colburn's got no future here, has he? Let's be honest.
No, I actually, it's interesting Jason's mentioned it because I said the exact same thing on about 70 minutes of the game on Saturday. And it isn't, I mean, I like Colburn and it's not, I've got no issue if the manager doesn't fancy him. But every year we go in the same position where we get rid of someone because we're upgrading, and then it gets to the point where they're either injured or we haven't upgraded in terms of performance, and we're thinking he's actually no worse than what we've got at the minute. And as Kud said there about Dale Fry going up front, obviously it's a centre half up front. You give away 2 fouls that a striker wouldn't have given away, where the striker might have got the knock on. You nearly booted someone in the head and then pushed someone over because again it's an unfamiliar area for him to be in. But even then, if you use Coburn for that 5 minutes, he would have been more effective up there. So again, like John said, he'd have been better than Iheanacho. And I think Josh Coburn, with a run in any team, would score goals. I think he's a box player, and he's got a good.
Just to clarify that point, that wasn't a criticism of Dale playing up front.
No, I know it wasn't. I know.
For me,
yeah,
it's a criticism of the management team or whoever makes transfer decisions that we have been left with putting a centre half playing centre forward while we're trying to get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So questions need asking about that for sure.
It's it's questions that we will ask. I say, obviously, we'll do that. Once the season's all finished. I'm not saying the points aren't relevant now. They absolutely are. And you're absolutely right. But I could probably put a podcast way longer than an hour together about where the blame really lies, about how we fell off a cliff and splattered on the floor, because that's what we've done. We haven't pulled up or anything. We've just absolutely fell off, and to say that is, massively, massively disappointing. Let's get stuck into the game, because there wasn't much to talk about game-wise. Quite frankly, I thought Norwich let us off a lot, because I thought best players on the pitch were Borja Sainz and Josh Sargent by a long way, and also the right back as well. I thought Jack Stacey had a field day on that right wing. He just kept running up and down and up and down. He had no competition, no issues, no blockers, no nothing. The only reason he went backwards is because he got booked. If he didn't get booked, then he'd probably just kept doing it. But the most frustrating bit for me, John Don, is our best chance was Aidan Morris breaking the line, which I say Josh behind me was absolutely screaming for. He was absolutely screaming for someone to break the line, because Hackney and Morris were just following each other all game. And then Morris made that little run and he hit the post, didn't he? So for me, that was the best chance of the game that we had.
Yeah, it was. We made their keeper make a couple of smart saves, but I spoke about it last week. With so much at stake, you want your team banging on the door. You want your team to sort of like really sort of push teams back and create chance after chance, and eventually you hope one will go in. But we were lucky that Norwich failed to score. Travers again had a great game, made some brilliant double save. The woodwork. Yeah, it was difficult to understand if you were a neutral watching that team with no background of where each team was in the league and what was on the game for either team. As a neutral, you would look at that and think, well, Norwich seem as though they've got more determination here to win this game, and that shouldn't be the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked like both teams were on the beach. Both teams had finished for the season. That's how it felt towards the end. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Shane Duffy was at centre back, wasn't he, for Norwich? He looked untroubled, untested all afternoon. And there wasn't any point in the afternoon I thought he looks uncomfortable. He's been pulled into a position he's not happy with. They say Conway ran at him a couple of times, but I thought he was comfortable all game, and that says it all for me. Shane Duffy towards the twilight of his career, towards the end of his career, and he's not being given the runaround. How slow we are is so frustrating now. We've gone from a pacey team who could kill teams in the blink of an eye to back and forth and side to side to side to side.
You watch other teams. You watch other teams in this league, and when they break with pace, and they attack, and they're quickly up the field. They move the ball really quickly. Whether that's a long direct ball that the forward holds up and the midfield come and support, but they go from defending in their own box to the edge of our box in a matter of seconds. It seems to take us 15 minutes. It's just so it's so bloody frustrating. And how are we meant to break down teams when they've got all their men behind the ball, there's no gaps for us to find, and it's a pattern that we've seen all season. You know, I think one of the only times I can remember where we've broken that pace and caught the team we've outnumbered a team in our attack was possibly Leeds back in August when we played particularly well, and we moved the ball very, very quickly up from defence to the forward line. But now it's just so slow and so deliberate. And you're never going to get through teams if they outnumber you at the back. And sometimes they outnumber you by 2 players to 1 because we've only got Tommy Conway, 3 midfielders, and possibly a left or right wing back supporting Conway. We just can't get through.
No, we can't get through. We can't counter attack. And count to 20 by the time we get to the halfway line. That's how slow we are. We are really, really slow. It's awful to even think about. I mean, I'm going to ask you all 3 of you a question. Just shot a minute at me. Nicely, we all saw the game. We're all sat there going, "We need this to change." At what minute? I'll start with you, John Don. I'll go around. At what minute did you look at the game and think we need to change this?
Probably about just before or just after the hour mark. They were on top in the second half at that point. And I thought that we could do with changing shape. We need subs on to change the shape. Iheanacho hadn't offered anything second half, so he could have been withdrawn. We could have made changes, changed our shape slightly, but we didn't. I think our first substitution was after 65 minutes, and then another couple on towards 80 minutes. It's getting to the point in the match where things are a bit desperate. Then the crowd are nervous, and yeah, we should have made the change, in my opinion, just before the hour mark.
Right. Keep that in mind. Cuts, come to you.
Half time. Iheanacho would have been off. I was seeing it after 30 minutes. There was too much space in midfield. I'd have had Iheanacho off at half time. I'd have brought probably Borges on to play centre half, and I'd have moved Houghton into midfield. I'd have changed the shape, but we all know that this manager never changes the shape. He just brings on like for like, and with the same pedestrian way of playing, and teams know exactly what they're going to get. Stevie Wonder would know how to play against us because we don't change ever. He's too stubborn. How can he not change formation? When was the last time we changed formation? They had loads of space in midfield. Get someone else in there. Try and win a bit of the ball so that we're winning the ball further up the pitch where we can get in attacking positions. We had a shot from Hackney in the first half. It's the only time the keeper had to do anything where he tipped it round the post. It's not good enough.
No, it's not. You both mentioned the same kind of thing as I'm going to try and pull on because Jack's just popped up in the comments and say about it as well. Jacob, I'll come to you.
I think there's kind of 2 answers. When could I tell that there was something wrong? After about 20 minutes, when I see the Middlesbrough team for the 10th time this season be given a really good opportunity to achieve something, and an inability of the manager to get them up for a game of football. I mean, again, just so flat, as a team, as a group. And the only time I seen Michael Carrick move was the 87th minute when he encouraged Ryan Giles to bomb down the line. And, too little, too late. And when would I have made changes? I'd have took Iheanacho off at half time for Giles, put Giles at left back and moved Dylan Jr. forward.
Right. So you've all 3 of you indicated a change of system, just a bit of a change of formation, a bit of change of direction. because Jack's just mentioned it in the comments, right? It's something I mentioned in the first half. I was absolutely stunned by. This was a team we were playing on Saturday that were completely out of playoff contention. Conceded 5 at home to Portsmouth, right? Portsmouth, who are not world beaters. Yes, they got 4 points off us this season, but they are not world beaters. And they did that by pushing up from the front. How did we let them get away with so much space? And at what point did Carrick think, if I push a little bit further forward, we could get these, push a mistake out of them? Because we all saw it in the stadium. We just stood there and let them play out every time. There was no pressure on them, absolutely no pressure. I think the one bit of pressure we did actually put on him, I think it forced a corner in like the 80th minute or something. Is that showing how far behind our manager actually is? Because even I'm starting to question that now, as much as many people in the stadium did on Saturday. Why are we so far behind at times? Why are we so far behind actually doing something that's meaningful? Why do we have to wait for someone else to do something? I think Norwich made 2 or 3 subs before we'd even blinked. I mean, you know what I mean? Jack Wilshere's in temporary charge, and he saw he needed to change something to try and push us even further because he knew they were on top at that point. Why can't Carrick see that? Or am I just looking at a completely different or wrong angle?
Well, talking about the press, you're talking about there. Everybody's got to follow the same instructions if they're going to press high and try and win the ball back or force mistakes. It's got to be everyone doing it. Conway does it. Conway does a good shift in pressing, but nobody else does. And as a result, they've got far more time than we are ever allowed to come out with the ball. You know yourself. Teams must know. Press Borough, they play out from the back. Press them. I've seen so many goals conceded by them this year. So we get pressed, yet we don't. We didn't seem to do it on Saturday. Like I said, Conway does. Conway's hard working, and he does try to close it down, but he can't do it on his own.
No, well, that's the issue. I think you've touched on it there. That I think Michael Carrick's pressing is a one-man press. It's only he has his forward just doing dummies all game, and then no one else actually supporting the press, like you say. So that's why Lath. I think it was because he was that quick. It was less obvious. But now Conway's up there, and I'm not saying he's slow, but he's not as quick as Latte, and it's just him on his own. And there's no wonder he looks knackered after 60 minutes. Yeah, and again, I've said on this podcast a few times this season about the whole team looking really lethargic towards the end of a game again and again. I don't know what all the reasons are for this. I don't know if it's the lack of subs throughout the season and some of them are just now, dying on the feet towards the end. But even then, about 65 minutes, 70 minutes, I just thought they look fitter than us, miles fitter than us. And again, once it got to that point, I just had no confidence that Borough were going to nick a goal. I thought if any team was going to win the game, it would have been Norwich. So again, I think our press is almost pointless. There's no point if we're just going to ask Conway to do it on his own. Everyone may as well sit off. And again, we're playing people out of position. So we've got Azaz, who is a 10. All of his numbers this season have came playing in the 10. When he's been stuck on the left, he's ineffective. But we keep doing it to accommodate playing other people. And he doesn't have the speed of what a natural winger would to press the ball either. And then if we're playing Whitaker out there, who isn't rapid either, who's played a 10 a lot for Plymouth and not out wide, and we're asking him to press the ball as well sometimes. There's not enough pace in the team at all.
All we're doing is we're just tiring out Tommy Conway.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And when we do finally get the ball into possible danger areas, he's not there because, to be fair, he's knackered. He's putting a good shift in, but he's doing it on his own.
Yeah. And if you're playing Iheanacho, one thing Iheanacho is not going to give you is a load of pressing, is he? Because he's so far again. I don't. He's been pretty immobile. You don't see him necessarily putting in a load of graft and covering a load of ground.
Pretty immobile. I saw John move quick up the stairs, and he did.
I must have shouted out 20 times easy at that game on Saturday. Press is a expletive team because Conway is running around and they're passing the ball around him. I would have loved to have seen Conway turn around, shrug his shoulders, and say to the rest of the team, "What are you doing? I'm just wasting my time here, running up and down and chasing while you are all stood just in front of the halfway line."
No, I think they're being told to do it though. Like I generally don't believe because we've done it all season. So if he was like, obviously you'd hope it would have been addressed by now. If even Carrick would be shouting, but you don't see it. So I generally think we press as a one man, and hopefully he nicks it. If he does, great. If he doesn't, well, he's knackered. Like I generally think that's the solution.
If you don't want to press, though, you're telling the rest of the players not to press. Tell Conway not to bother them.
That's right. I'm agreeing with you. Yeah.
He might as well save his energy, mightn't he, Jacob?
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's running
crazy.
around. He's running around chasing a ball that he's never going to get when there's three players passing it around him.
Yeah.
How he kept his calm, I will never know because I'd have been fuming if I was him.
It's the easiest thing in the world to get by a one-man presses because you just play the triangles around him and he's left looking silly. Yeah, you see other teams. When they press and nick the ball off us, they're doing it collectively. There's about 4 players, all looking to press where the ball goes, and it's eventually led to that many mistakes by us this season that we've conceded so many goals over it. But we don't do it ourselves.
If we can all see that though, lads, how was the manager not seeing it in Woodgate and then both of them getting together and get a message on to Tommy and say there's no point in chasing the ball around? What's happening?
That's exactly why I brought it up, because you look at the bench. I looked at the bench a few times in the second half on Saturday, and they're all stood there with an iPad in their hand. All of them. So it means they've got all sorts of data in front of them. They've got all sorts of angles and replays and everything. They've got data analysts that sat at the top of the stands, give them a bit of a different angle. I'm just stunned by it. How many times have I screamed? I mean, John Don Clutch, you've been stood for me many times home and away. Just stand 5 yards further forward and see how effective it works. It's all it takes is 5 yards. You do that, all of a sudden the team either backs up on you or you force that mistake out of them because they're not expecting you to push forward. Do that as a team. It works wonders, and I don't get why we don't do it. It's not hard. It's not changing your shape. You don't have to do that. It's just pushing your players 2 steps forward. It's not much. It doesn't take a lot.
Thing is, you talk about data and stats there. I wish they'd throw that in the bin.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything to me. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. Yes, I might be. But just motivate your team to follow your tactics, and to if they're going to press the opposition, then make sure they press as a unit. Yes, you might have statistics regarding a player's weakness, but that can be spoken about. You can tell your players he's not comfortable taking the ball off the keeper, so press him more. You can do that. It doesn't need an iPad and statistics and it's we need to get back to playing the game and using not using stats to control the way we play, but using good old-fashioned coaching and motivation, and getting players to do what they're good at.
I'm going to question motivation here, because there was numerous incidents in the first half where there was 50-50 balls to be won. Yet there weren't 50-50 balls. There were 100% Norwich because we weren't putting our foot in. Now, if I'm a manager on the sideline in a game that you have to win, I am pulling my hair out and going mental on the sideline and say, at least put your foot in and try and win the ball. We were shirking 50-50 tackles in a must-win game. I can't accept that. I don't care how good a player you are. We need someone who's nasty in there, and we've said it all season that we've been massively missing it. So whether that's the scouting system or the manager or whoever, but you still tell them players 50-50 ball there to be won. If you don't put it in, you're going to get everything you deserve off the fan base. I can't accept that either.
No, I agree. I just, again though, it's hard to, when you look at other teams and other coaches, it's hard to look at any alternative apart from saying it stems from the coach. You know, even in the past, you know, again, you know, people might not like them, you know, your Warnocks, your Pulis and people like that, you know, they weren't backing out the 50-50 challenges. However bad you thought the football was, however bad you thought the team was, whatever you thought of them, there was a you know, there was a level to how low we drop. And again, you know, as a player, you know, in a good way, you almost, not, you don't want to, fear is the wrong word. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but you almost want to create a thing of, bloody hell, I know I'm going to get it here if I don't put my foot into this tackle. You know,
100%.
The manager is going to absolutely bollock me, you know, like, and that's how it should be. And like you said, for the fans, but again, this, you know, calm, you can't be calm all the time. You can't be, or people will just end up taking the mick. And I think that's what happens sometimes is he's that soft on them. People take the mick.
The team mirrors the manager.
Yeah.
He's very laid back. He's relaxed. I don't know what happens in the changing room, but on the front, in all of his interviews, he's relaxed and calm. Everything will be all right. It's not a must-win game. They say it's reflecting onto the players. In my opinion,
slow, ponderous. You know, it all links back to his kind of attitude that we get to see. So it, you know, where other people will say, "Oh, well, he might be different behind closed doors," but what we see on the pitch is exactly what we see from him. So, you know, I don't believe he is different behind closed doors. I just don't see it. And again, this thing of, you know, I understand you might want to take the pressure off your team before a big game and say, you know, things like, it's not a must win. Do you know what? He's done that for 3 seasons, and Middlesbrough haven't turned up in a big game more than 3 times since he's been the manager. So actually, why, as the coach, I'd maybe try a different technique and think, you know what, I'm going to stick it on them. I'm going to say, we need to win this game, and the lads need to understand that. Because we've tried this method of, you know, it's not a must win. What will be, will be. Football's football. The league's the league. All this crap he's coming out with. As the manager, just say, this is a must-win game. The players understand what they need to do, and we've got to win. You know, and see what reaction we get. And if they fold again, well, then you can say it's on them. But as the manager, you come out to the fans and the media and say, they understand the assignment. It's down to them to deliver it.
Absolutely spot on.
You think you're going back to 50-50 challenges. The last one that I can remember resulted in a goal. I think, was it Derby at home? I think Aidan Hackney went into a 50-50 challenge, won the ball. It went down to Finn Azaz, and he put a brilliant ball in behind the defence, and Tommy Conway tapped it in. I think it was Derby, but that's the only one that really stands out to me. And you know, Hackney's had so many yellow cards this season for pulling players back, because he loses possession, whether it's by miscontrol or whatever, and the other player gets ahead of him, and he pulls him back, and it's all silly, petty yellow cards that then put him on a tightrope for the rest of the game. You know, I like Aidan Hackney. I think he's a great player. He's got fantastic attributes, but this habit he has of pulling players back, and especially right in front of the referee, and gaining a yellow card that sort of like makes the rest of the game for him a nervy one. It's got to be sorted.
John, we've seen it watching games going back to Weston Park, right? They might not have been the most talented footballers in the world, but let's take Gary Hamilton, for example. When we've watched him at Ayresome Park and he's thundered into a tackle that is probably 30-70 against him and won the ball, and it's got the fans going, passion. They talk about how flat the stadium is. Well, this is because of performances. Sometimes winning a ball that you're never supposed to win can get the fans up and going. We've seen none of that. That's been non-existent for 3 years. Non-existent. Clayton and Ledbetter weren't the greatest players in the world, but they would never shake a 50-50 tackle. And how many times did that used to get the fans up at the Riverside? We don't see any of it. We're too nice, far too nice.
Well,
I'd certainly say this season. I don't know about 3 years. I mean, because we did have some great performances and great results in the year that we made the playoffs under Carrick and some good cup games last year. But I do understand what you're saying. This season, especially, has been such a meek, feeble, understrength team. You know, that really frustrates.
I mean, there's a few mentions in the comments about you know, has Carrick got it in him to coach, you know, a nasty style of player? Has he got, you know, what would he do if he had a bit of back chat on, you know, a bit like what you were saying, the players putting it on him and saying, well, hang on, we should be doing this. Because last time I remember that happening was when Sol Bamba came out about Chris Wilder and said, we're trying to do something this season, and you're talking about other things. You know, your uncertainty is causing half of this. You know, come out. Take that all aside. Where's the pride in these players? Where's the pride of putting that shirt on and going, you know, just doing it for your craft, for your job? You know, end of the day, yeah, they've probably got one of the best jobs in the world. But are they really? It's really harsh saying this. Are they really giving it for the club that they're actually employed by? If they really look deep down, because some of the 50-50s I saw on Saturday were pathetic. They were lackluster.
John Cutler,
they were boring.
John Cutler mentioned Gary Hamilton. Now, if you ask most Borough fans who remember him watching him play, he's a legend to them.
Yeah,
he wasn't free scoring. He wasn't man of the match performances every other game. But you knew that when he took the pitch, he would give everything. He would give everything, and he's a Glaswegian. You know, it's not his hometown team, but the fans love a grafter. Doesn't have to be the best footballer in the world, but they love a grafter.
Exactly. Someone will run through a brick wall. Name one player in that squad other than Lenihan that will put his body on the line for that shirt. I can't think of anyone else. Howson works Aberley Leeds by example, different type of player. But other than Lenihan, we've got no defenders who will old school defend, Tony Mowbray type, putting the body, getting your nose smashed all over, and then you look like it when you're 65. He won't care a jot, but we all love him for what he did for this football club, putting his body on the line. None of them do that. Not one of them.
We sold one. We sold Matt Clark.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you.
Not replacing him was one of our biggest sins this season. I've got to admit,
Selling him was the biggest sin.
If you haven't got a replacement in mind, why are you getting rid? That, you know, we didn't need to get rid. But I mean, Mick, John Donner's just mentioned about two players that I've got in my head. Not the most stylish of players, not the most talented of players, but gave everything. Robbie Mustoe and Jamie Pollock.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even question the pair of them. Unbelievable players. I say,
talent-wise, Mustoe especially. Yeah, Mustoe especially. I mean,
one of my favourite players ever.
Yeah, he's in a lot of fans' top 10. I remember years ago, 12th man with the Gazette done a poll on Borough's favourite players, the top 10 favourite players throughout our history, and Robbie Mustoe was there, and rightly so. And yet he wasn't built like Anthony Dyke-Steele, you know. He was quite a sort of a bit built like Johnny Howson in a way. He's quite slender, you know, but obviously very strong, and he never shirked. He never shirked a tackle, and he would run until the final whistle. And I think that's why fans then and now still love him.
The most amazing thing about all of this is that Carrick played under Ferguson for so long, and if Ferguson would ever have saw any of his players shaking a tackle, they would have been hooked. So again, this is down to a manager that is too nice. How are they not seeing it? How are the scouting department not seeing it? How are Woodgate, Ledbetter, whoever's looking at iPads? Maybe they're too busy looking at iPads and not watching what's going on the pitch. Oh, let's see how far they can run and how quick they can run, how many yards they're doing. No, let's look at how many tackles they're shaking or not putting the bodies on the line to protect the goal going in. Was it Sheffield Wednesday a few years ago when Clayton was all the bodies were on the line, stopping it going in the net? It's not about pretty tippy tappy football. It's about showing a bit of passion and putting a shift in for the fans and the club.
Yeah.
Spot on.
But again, I go back to the coaching staff thing of if people who are out the depth are in high positions where they shouldn't be, they generally don't challenge people or challenge things. So you've probably got Ledbetter and Woodgate, and I know they're probably just quite happy to be there. And that sounds like daft. Some people might say that sounds daft, but I don't believe that they're all, someone with a bit more experience or someone who's seen it might be saying, Michael, this is just not working. But they'll all be like, I think they're all of the same opinion and inexperienced to, like, do you really think Ledbetter or Woodgate has got anything worthwhile really to help Carrick with while he's going through a tough patch in a game? I don't think so. I think they're all as oblivious as each other.
I bet you Ledbetter's watching this and he's pulling his hair out. He's a coach, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I bet he's pulling his hair out and he might think to himself, look, if I go up to Carrick, for example, and start saying you need to start doing this and you need to start doing that, Carrick might just say to him, get in your lane. He's just a coach.
Yeah.
But there's no way if he was managing this team, I'm not saying by any means that he should be, but there's no way he would be letting his players shake these tackles because he never did it himself.
And even people like Dagstill, where you see him shirking the odd tackle. I mean, I really like Dagstill, but he never did it under Warnock. Never ever did it under Warnock. So again,
didn't do it under Wilder.
No, that's what I'm saying. So I think there's, again, over a period of time, if you're really soft and there's never any consequences, or how many people have had bad games this season and it's the same 11 that's been put out, or they haven't been dropped, and there's people on the bench that have actually came on in games, played well, and then they're on the bench again. It doesn't send the right message. It doesn't send the right message at all. And I just think there's almost a lack of standards now at the club in the team. I don't think the standards are as high as they should be. And again, after a long time of doing that, standards slip, and people do take the mick, like I said before, subconsciously. They might not mean to do it, but some of them players know, if I don't turn up today, my manager will come out and say, I thought the lads played well. I thought they tried the best. And again, you want your manager to back the players 9 times out of 10. But the odd press interview, you want to hear him say, do you know what? It just wasn't bloody good enough. It was bad. And what makes me laugh is you're actually allowed to say that. You hear so many other managers in the league go, I told the lads it wasn't good enough today, and it's on me and it's on them. You don't have to start saying, oh, he was crap and he's not playing again. We don't want that, but we don't just want the same drivel of I'm bitterly disappointed. But I thought the effort was superb. Well, I didn't. I thought it was poor, and that's, you're just taking the fans for mugs.
Just look at over a week ago, Stoke battered Sheffield Wednesday 5-0. Danny Roll didn't hold back. Danny Roll was quite scathing, saying that he thought some players' games were unacceptable. And if he was here for another season, he would question whether those players would be with him. So, yeah, he was pretty scathing. But you know what? He got the result. He got the result in the next game. Unfortunately, it was against us.
You mentioned 2 managers there that we've had previously, Warnock and Wilder, and saying that players didn't shake tackles. And do you know why they didn't shake tackles? Because he would have had them pinned up against the wall, either of them, and they would have come out afterwards and they would have said, I didn't like it when so-and-so didn't go for a 50-50 ball. Quite possibly, they'd have got hooked for that. And I wouldn't have complained one bit if a player's not going in for tackles and they get subbed. No. I don't care who you are in that team. If you're not going to do the bare minimum that is, for me, essential, get them off the pitch.
Yeah.
Well, but it doesn't happen. No. It's not just formations. Yeah. It's been too nice in the press. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then he says things that are absolutely not true.
Yeah.
Must think we're watching something. I know we're not professionals, but we know we've watched football for a lot of years between us. Mm-hmm. We know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And he's talking nonsense to the press lately.
Yeah, well, it's almost like it's getting the point where you feel like he's gaslighting at times. It's almost like you outright just rubbish. Like, so after some of the games, you like that Luton away game. It was sunny. It's like that is not going to go down well. It's not like it's never going to go down well. Saying that to fans where you should be 4-0 down after 40 minutes. Oh, it was a bit sunny. I mean, come on. Like it's crazy.
Must have been cloud cover on the Luton players then. Only sunny on us. The pitch is bobbly. Yeah, it's the same for both teams, Michael. If you've never played on bobbly pitches before, you're not in the Premier League where the pitches are perfect like Wembley every week. This is Championship football and you've been here for 3 years and you're coming out with rubbish like that.
Yeah.
I can't. I'll just digress a little bit. How funny is it watching Jacob kick off? Honestly, brilliant.
He speaks sense, though.
But he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. But to bring it back to, I suppose, sort of real world kind of sense, we all know, we've all been in situations in jobs where there's always that one gaffer where people think they can get away with, and they probably do get away with it a bit too much. That's what Michael Carrick reminds me of. He reminds me of someone, if something really bad happened, I don't think he's got it in him. I don't think anyone behind him has got it in him to give him the rollicking that they deserve. And that unfortunately that feeds down, and players think they can get away with it, and they're too soft, and they're not giving everything at times. And maybe it's because I've paid so much watching this team, and I really feel like I've not got my money's worth this year. I'm not going to lie to you.
I desperately hope this doesn't happen and our season's not over on Sunday. But them players that he's protected for so long, week after week after week, when we've been critical on here, they could be the ones that are going to get him the boot. Is he going to be as nice to them on Monday morning when he's collecting his stuff from Rockcliffe? I wouldn't have thought so. Well, Michael, in hindsight, lad, you should have been rollicking him a long time before this.
Exactly. End of the day, you've got a squad of 25, 30 players. You include youth players, fringe players. If they all do a bad job, who effectively is the one that goes? It's the man leading them. You don't start picking players out and going, you're sacked, you're sacked, you're sacked, you're sacked, do you? You don't do it because the club knows they'll get a fee out of him. Can't do that with Michael Carrick. He'll be the one that'll be sacrificed, and he'll be the one that tells, there's your box, there's your bags, off you jog.
So a couple of points here. We're 9 points off worse than what we were last season, right? So for me, it's more than 9 points because this league this year, apart from the top two, is far worse than last season.
Yeah.
So not only we're 9 points worse off, you can add a few more points on top of that because the league's worse. Is this squad worse than last season's squad?
Well, no, last season's squad
it's the best ever.
was the rebuild squad. That we got told that was the season where we got people like Silvera, and we experimented, and Whitaker's making Silvera's numbers look good. I mean, it's just just unbelievable. It's just, again, I actually looked. I think it was either 2 or 3 seasons ago. Right now, we'd be 11th in the Championship. And again, we're clinging on all season. Every time we've needed someone to lose, they've lost. But every time we've needed the Borough to win, we just haven't. And that sums up the season. I think we won at one point this season. We won 3 games in 15, and we lost 6 straight games on the bounce. This team deserves to be nowhere near, absolutely nowhere near. And this manager could have already been sacked 2 or 3 times this season. Exactly. I mean, look at Millwall. Millwall and Blackburn have had to change their managers. Their teams aren't better than Middlesbrough's. I mean, Millwall had Neil Harris. They were very solid at the back. They were now flash. Alex Neil's done a good job with that team he's got. Yeah, but there's no way they should be above Middlesbrough. Absolutely no way.
Well, Carrick said this is the best squad he's had, and it's underperforming because we all thought, and most Borough fans did think that it was a possibility that we could have broke into top 2, and now to go into the game at Coventry, praying for results to go our way elsewhere, and for us to do the unlikely and beat Coventry at their place. You know, that's a sequence of events that's unlikely to happen, but it's the only hope we've got.
We went from this time last week all sitting here going, right, it's 2 from 3. Now it's 2 from 3. And because we slipped up and Coventry slipped up, it's now 2 from 4 or 5.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah, that's where we're looking at. If Bristol City win tonight, it's 1 from 4. That's where we're looking.
Do you know what? If we win at Coventry, it's still out of our hands.
Yeah, because we've got to rely on Blackburn.
Blackburn could win. Millwall could win. So yeah, we're asking for a fairly unlikely sequence of results. But anyway,
I would say we are quite lucky because Millwall are going to Burnley and Burnley are going to be still fighting for the Championship. So that's one. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed that Burnley will win, but put into context, Burnley have conceded 15 goals all season. You know, that's that. And Blackburn go to Sheffield United, and Cuts quite rightly said before we came on, that's the one you look at because Sheffield United won't exactly go gun-ho in the final game when they want to make sure all the players are ready for next week.
That's right, they're comfortably third.
And Blackburn have 4 wins in a row or something, aren't they? So they're going to be confident.
Yeah.
Tell you what, if I'm... Go on, John, sorry.
No, go on. I'll let you go, John, then I'll come in.
If I'm Wilder on Saturday, I rest all my best players and I don't even put them on the bench. Possibility of red cards and injuries. You can't finish any lower than third. I'd rest every single one of them. And I bet you, in his head, he's thinking, I'd prefer to play Blackburn in the playoffs than Middlesbrough. Not because of how we've performed, looking at the squads and knowing that he knows what the Riverside's like on a big night. If I was him, that's 100% what I'd do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've gone, as we said earlier, you know, from having so many opportunities, given so many chances, that it's gone down to the final game, and you know, probably the percentage of us getting in the top 6 now is maybe about 5-10%, if that.
Yeah. Do you know what wouldn't surprise me? If every result goes our way and we put in a completely inept performance at Coventry, where there's no motivation, there's no sprint and 50-50 challenges. Why would we expect it to change now in the last game of the season? I'd also, if I was someone interviewing him, I'd be sarcastic and say, "Is this a must-win game now, Michael?"
I know, yeah. No, but again, just to go back to the overall picture of the season and stuff, is even the performances, and I've been saying this for 4 or 5 months now, where at the beginning of the season, even when we got beat 1-0 at Derby, it was 2 each at home at Portsmouth. In them 2 games, we were playing oppositions off the park. We were moving the ball quickly. We had 70% of the ball. I know possession, but we were a bit more effective with it. We were creating opportunities, and we generally thought after the first 10 games, cut out some of these mistakes, we should be in and around that top 3, top 4, top 2 area. But again, the performances are I can't. Like, even when we get these wins, they're either quite fortunate or they're just a bit worse than what we are. And for a long time, I haven't felt we've played someone off the pitch. I just think the performances. I think we're in almost like a managed decline. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's why I can never get on board with these people going, this squad is simply not good enough. Well, I'm sorry, right? You all looked at it in January and said we should be getting minimum of playoffs.
I think that's a good point again. I think some again, I don't like having a go at the fans, but I mean, as fans, all of us Middlesbrough fans, we're very, very good at turning on like the idea that when we go through a bad run, and especially under this manager, he's had an easy ride. Whether people, he's had a bit of criticism overall this season, but in the the grand scheme of things, he's had an easy ride off the supporters. Most of the time we've got behind him. And I think we're very good at almost we go through a bad run. It's right, the team's not good enough, the players are crap. We've spent a lot of money this season, a lot of money. And again, I know we've sold that, but even then, we, you know, on paper, they've had a list of players, and Ian Atchell, he's played in the Premier League, you know, FA Cup final and stuff. The calibre of player the club's bought this season, for me, on paper, has been quite a high standard. And as a coach in the Championship, if I got that group of players, I'd be thinking, got to get in the playoffs. We've got to get in the playoffs. And again,
I'll ask you, lads. Have we got a better squad than Bristol City?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Have we got a better squad than Blackburn?
Yeah.
Have we got a better squad than Millwall?
Yeah.
And have we got
a squad on par with Sunderland? Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's part of my frustration, and no doubt many other fans' frustrations, that those teams, without being disrespectful to them, are sitting above us in the league. Whereas we should be, we should be above them. We should be 5th, 6th, probably higher in the league. But we've failed to deliver in so many games. And we'll talk about when our end of season comes. We'll go through all the possible reasons and the events throughout this season. But really, looking at it, we should be above those 3 teams that I've just mentioned.
So if we've all answered that there, right? So the chairman surely is thinking the same thing. So you don't even have to answer this because you've just answered it yourself without saying it. Have we got a worse manager than all them 3 teams?
Yes.
Well, if we've got a better squad than them 3 teams, we must have a worse manager because it's one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We do.
I mean, that, you know, Bristol, and again, what you'll notice with them team, you know, especially Millwall and Bristol, is that they've just been quite, I know Blackburn have had some bad runs, but them Bristol and Millwall, they're just quite consistent. That Liam Manning, they don't play amazing football. You know, they're not the most exciting team every week, but they haven't lost many games, and they just pick up the draws when they can't win, and they're good at home. They've got a good home record, and again, it's another season where at home, Middlesbrough just fail at home, you know. And again, and you can't ask for any more from the fans again at home this season. You know, they've turned up, they've backed them, and again, like John Cutler was saying earlier, all season we haven't seen a tackle, a shot, or anything really to get the crowd up for a game. You know, all it is a flat 20 minutes like Saturday. You know, it's hard to get behind that. And even then, I thought at times the crowd, they were pushing at the beginning of the game for almost willing them to do something, to give us something to cling on to. But again, we just do nothing.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. I was just, go on.
Yeah, you look at Preston. Are you making the same point, John?
I'll leave what yours is, yeah. I was going to mention Preston.
Preston, we've lost more games this season than Preston have, and they are going into the last game of the season fighting to stay in this division, and we've lost more games than them. That's an amazing stat.
Is it 18 we've lost? 18, I think it is, isn't it?
Is it 17?
17 or 18, isn't it? And I mean, again, 17 defeats in 45 games. I mean, that's bloody awful for a team that, you know, should, well, again, I know we are at the top end of the league somehow, but, you know, 17 defeats is like, it is very poor. It really is.
It is.
We've sat here and criticised him. I wanted him to succeed.
I did.
But there's so many things that have happened this season. You've got to progress. He said himself at the start of the season, all the players that came in, playoffs, going for promotion. And I thought we'd lost one game less than Preston, but John might be right. That is absolutely ridiculous. With this squad, it is ridiculous. So, and I keep going back. If you back him again and keep him, and we get off to a start next season like what we did last year and start losing games, it's inevitable he's going to get the sack. Then we've wasted another season. We might as well do it on Sunday if we don't make the playoffs. We all want us to. We'll all be cheering on, want us to win the game and get in the playoffs. But if we don't, it falls down onto the manager, and you've got to make a change because otherwise you're just wasting another season if we start like last year.
But again, we've actually regressed. There's no one from a points point of view. We've got worse. Performances have got worse. Oh, one thing you could always say about Carrick's Borough in the other previous seasons is, do you know what? Even when they lose games, generally the standard of performance wasn't necessarily awful, but some of the performances this season have been like, again, we get told we play good football. Well, I haven't seen good football for a long, long time. A long, long time. It's slow, it's ponderous, it's boring, it's not exciting. And even when we win, we'll grind a 2-1 out home Oxford, who could have been 3-0 up after 10 minutes. It just is. It just is really, really poor.
Absolutely right. Say you are right. We have lost more games than Preston this year. The only reason Preston are where they are because we've drawn 19 games this season. That is the only reason we are where they are, which is, quite frankly, an astounding record. Drawing 19 games in a season, but yeah, that's where we are, and unfortunately, this season is looking towards failure, and with failure,
100%.
for me, comes massive, great consequences. Because for me, that means the end.
Not for the players, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. He had to get one more in, didn't he? He loved it.
But that might all change Saturday.
And that's where we moved on to. Just quickly before I move on to Saturday, obviously, I just want to give a big shout out to obviously everybody that turned up in the retro shirts. They say Riverside looked great on Saturday, looked brilliant. I even popped to see Bodge at ASB football shirts as well. He sends his massive thanks as well. He had a massive week in the shop this week, so he's always there if you want to pop. Some of the stuff he's got in the shop is unbelievable. He knows I'm going to pop back in because he's got do you remember the Substitutions sets that they released for the Carling Cup winners? He's got one of them on sale, so I'm I've already been told off writing it up, so you might as well hear it for the thousands of other people going to listen to it.
Yeah, you've just publicly announced Jade's wedding gift from you.
The amount of free advertising you're giving him, he should give you that Substitutions set for now.
He's a good lad, Bod. I had a good chat with him before I headed to Riverside on Saturday. He's massively thankful for us lot for giving him a shout. So, and obviously, it was a good.
Just to let everybody know, that's Bodge. That's Bodge at ASB football shirts.
Exactly.
Just to let everybody know.
There's
another 10% off.
That is Dundas Arcade.
The only criticism I would have is that the football club didn't really promote. It was I think they put one thing out saying it was retro shirt day, but it was like an asterisk of it's not the club's retro shirt day. It was just people going to turn up in retro shirt. They could have advertised it massively and done all sorts for the town itself, but that's another argument to have one day, isn't it? So
when you said the only criticism I have, I thought you were going to criticise Bodge. I thought the Substitutions set was going up in smoke.
Yeah. No. But no, I will be back for that Substitutions set, I'm not going to lie. Right, we'll move on to Saturday. Game 46, final day of the season. I think Sky we're going to wait for see how Bristol City got on tonight because it hasn't officially yet. But obviously Borough went early, didn't they, this afternoon? So we are our main event for Sky Sports. We are the main game of the 12:30 kickoffs. I've never felt. I mean, I'm going on Saturday. I'll be part of the 2,800 that will be behind the goal. Part of a completely sold out CBS arena as well because they've sold every ticket, and rightly so. It's a huge game for both teams. Am I confident? No. I've never seen us win there, ever. And I don't expect it to change on Saturday. Although I did say to the lads, it really wouldn't surprise me if we went there and didn't. It really wouldn't. But one thing, John Don, I want to see, if anything else, if I see us get beat, yeah, I'll be disappointed. Yeah, I'll be annoyed. If we give everything and we leave nothing on that pitch and we walk off and said there's nothing else we could have done against that team, I won't deep down be bothered because I think, you know what? Today wasn't the day that let you down. It was a few of the 45 other days before that. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, yeah. It all obviously it all boils down to Saturday and results elsewhere. But yeah, I said earlier in this podcast that we've been handed chance after chance this season and squandered every one. So yeah, you're right. It doesn't all boil down to us not being in the top six if we don't get the result on Saturday. It's previous results that have scuppered us.
It is. You put a tweet out earlier as well. We've played all our chance cards. We've finally got the last one in our hands now, and this is the one that's got to come up trumps. But what's your thoughts going into the Saturday cuts? What are you thinking deep down?
To be honest, you just never know what to expect. Would it surprise me if we go there and win? Absolutely not, because I know that there's a lot of ability in the squad. It's just, can the manager get them up for it? It shouldn't be hard to get them up for it. Let's be honest. We've still got a chance. As slim as it is, we've still got a chance. So do I expect us to go there and give it everything we've got? From minute one, that's when I want to see it. Not us sitting back for 20 minutes. It's a must-win game. Go out from minute one. They're going to be nervous. We've been to the Ricoh Stadium plenty of times, even for games that don't mean anything. It's always a cracking atmosphere. It'll be absolutely bouncing there on Saturday morning. They'll be giving it everything. They're a decent set of fans. They're a decent club. But it's about what we do. Do I think we can go there and win? Yes, I do think we can. Do I expect it? Probably not on recent performances, but yeah, we can do it.
Exactly. And we've been there on a nervous afternoon at the Ricoh or CBS, whatever it's called. We were there in the playoffs first leg. We felt their nerves. We absolutely felt their nerves because we took the front foot and created the best chances of that game. But I think the most important thing out of this, Jacob, is we have to go there and win. They don't have to win on Saturday, do they? They just have to get a result, and they've done it. They've done their bit. Obviously, it is looking at Blackburn and Millwall again for them if they do that, but it takes the pressure a little bit off them, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but I think it can also work in the reverse effect of if they get into that mentality of we'll just cling on. Often you don't. But again, it's up to Borough to capitalise on that pressure. And again, like Sheffield Wednesday away, at the beginning of that second half, every 5 minutes we just dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. And before you know it, we're on the edge of our box the last 10 minutes of the game. We can't just go there and sit back.
Nope.
Like Hudson, take the game to them. Because if anything, our strengths are hopefully going to be going forward. I mean, I know we're not exactly pinging them in for fun at the minute, but again, there's a lot of quality in that team up the top end of the pitch, and we've just got to unlock it again, and we need the manager to, unlock it out of them. But I actually think it could work in the other way where they get a little bit nervous, and if it gets to 60 0-0, and they're like, "Oh, we'll just sit," and again, hopefully it works in the reverse effect. But in my head, I thought if we were going to get the playoffs, I'd already planned for us to lose this game. So I thought beat Sheffield Wednesday, which they should have, beat Norwich at home. 2 easy games for if you're a proper team going for the playoffs. You see them 2 fixtures and you think 4-6 points you've got to get. You've got to. And again, obviously we've ended up with 1. And now all the pressure's on the last game. We could have had this wrapped up before this game. We could be going there thinking, we don't even have to win.
Exactly. If you just put them 5 points onto our total, just them 5 points, we'd be 3 points above Coventry with a miles better goal difference. And that, for me, that would be not far off being that. But unfortunately, that's what if you want a bit of good news, Leeds have just scored. So that's something for you. My player of the year, which he didn't get player of the year last night. Gus Hammer got player of the year for the championship. Ayo Tanaka just scored. There you go. That's something for you. But yeah, every one of us in that crowd's going to be looking at the phones on Saturday. Depending on what kind of the result is, half time, 60 minutes in, 70 minutes in, because at the end of the day, we're looking at other results. But just do our job, give it everything, and do our job, and then we'll just see what happens at 90 minutes. But I'm going to ask you all 2 questions now. Obviously, depending on where you end up with your scores. I'll start with the first one. John Don, I'll start with you. Score for game number 46.
2-0 to Coventry.
Okay.
I'm going to try and do my own reverse psychology. So Ellis Sims as a goal scorer.
Okay. Cuts, come to you.
I'm going to go 3-1 Borough, Hackney.
Good to see the old tombola machines come out for one more goal. Jacob, come to you.
3-0 Coventry. Pick a goal scorer. Victor Torp.
Victor Torp. Is he the one that should have scored against Man United?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go 2-1 Borough. Marcus Force. I don't care if he starts or he doesn't start. He comes off the bench, he'll score. Because I've said for donkeys, he's an absolute finisher, and he'll finish when he masses. So yeah, 2-1 Borough.
Well, he is Finnish.
No, he's not. He's not else. So with that in mind, then obviously me and Cuts have gone for a win. So I'll start with you then, Cuts. Do you think that will get us in?
No.
Which result does it? Blackburn.
I think Sheffield United will get beaten on me.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think we get in either. I think Blackburn got Sheffield United and win. So I'll come now to you two. And then I'll ask Cuts as well. So with you two saying we're going to get beat, that's season over, season done. John Don, is that the end of Carrick?
I think if we don't make the top 6, and obviously my result suggests that we're not going to, then the inevitable will happen.
Jacob, sent you.
I bloody hope so.
That's right, sit on the fence, lad. Well done.
Yeah.
Can I just say we've predicted scores there, and John is as an optimistic Borough fan as you can never get, like myself, right?
Yeah.
That is the first time I've ever heard him predict that we're going to get beat. I know he's saying reverse psychology, but this shows why, if we don't make the playoffs, that this manager cannot continue next season. I'm not putting it all on John, by the way, but I've never heard him ever once do that. I haven't, and it's sad to see as a group, as a fan base, that we're so disillusioned with what's going on. And this is why, if we don't make the playoffs, like we've all said, we don't think we will. There's no way he can continue. There is no way.
Absolutely right. So there you go. And I'll make it a full house 4 out of 4. I think he'll be gone by the end of the bank holiday. So it's sad because when he first joined the club, it was probably the most excited I've been about where we could go forward. When Karanka joined, and I don't like talking about Karanka because of him walking out on us, but that's how excited I was about Michael Carrick joining the Borough. It's just sad it hasn't worked, unfortunately. But hey, you live in hope. You live in hope. You don't know what's going to happen by 2:30 on Saturday. So wherever you're watching it, whether it be in the pub, abroad, wherever, just back it one more time, and then you can do your morning at 2:30 onwards, and then you can ask all the questions of, do we look at Gibbo? Do we look at Scott? Do we look at Carrick? But we'll ask all them questions as well as the weeks come along as well. So,
we'll be preparing for the first leg of the playoffs.
Oh yes, we'll be preparing for the Thursday night game at home, because that's where we'll be. We'll be at home on Thursday night if we finish 6th. So, yeah. Until then, though, to you three, thank you very much for popping on. Enjoy the game on Saturday, wherever you are watching it. I think I'll be getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning to go down to go and watch it, but it's what you do as a fan. And to you lovely people for watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, and just basically listening to us rabbit on for 9 months. You know, we've got a couple more left, and then that's our season done by the looks of it. So, arrivederci. It's the first time all season I've said that wrong. Arrivederci up the borough. Be seeing you. Toodaloo.
Up the borough.
Up the borough.